Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sorting Hat Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Barryte, as always, joined by my co-host, the lovely and talented Katie Reed.
Hi, guys.
You were so composed.
You overhyped me. I fucking choked.
You were so well composed upon arrival. You came in so direct and with purpose. You're like, we're going to be talking about Shakespearean tragedies, and I was like, yeah, we are. But then the minute we start,
I trip over my own dick.
but in dealing with this, and the person you are hearing laugh just moments ago is the wonderful and talented comedian, actor, wonderful friend, Jordan Stidham.
Hi, guys. Hi.
You just looked straight at me.
Yeah, I made direct eye contact.
That was still
that
way
was a
too
huge
composed.
overhype. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna take it back. We're gonna take it back. And as always, my co-host, the mostly disappointing Katie Reed, and the mess of a human being, Jordan Stidham.
Hi, everybody. How you doing? Jordan Stidham here. See, that's so much pressure off my shoulders now.
Good. Okay. As previously sort of set up, we are going to be sorting Shakespearean tragedies into the House of Hogwarts. If for some reason you've stumbled this far into this podcast and have no idea what you're walking upon into, on the Sorting Hat Podcast, we are taking things, not people, and sorting them into the various houses of Hogwarts. So we will be deciding whether some of these Shakespearean tragedies are Hufflepuffs, Ravenclaws, Slytherins, or Gryffindors. I am a Ravenclaw. Katie is a Hufflepuff, and Jordan is also a Ravenclaw.
Yeah, just found that out.
Fucking
the
nerd
hard
party
way.
up in here. I did not realize.
Although I will say that the Sorting Hat does take your choices into consideration. Mm-hmm. And so I choose to go to Livermony, or whatever the American school is called.
Right.
Liver money.
Livermony?
Which you also took the quiz for upon arriving here.
I got the Horned Serpent.
The Horned Serpent.
Yeah.
I am a Thunderbird. Katie, do you know what you are?
Oh, I don't know. It just started getting like really weirdly racist against Native Americans, and I noped out. And I was like, is Santa Claus a house? I'll choose him.
Yeah, I'll choose Santa Claus house too.
Oh, okay.
Can I be the Santa Claus house?
Sure.
Awesome. Cool. Katie, we're housemates.
Oh, wow. Thanks.
You're welcome.
So we're dealing with Shakespearean tragedies, and we're going to stick to the big three, I think.
Okay.
Don't give me that. Jordan's giggling because before we started, we were discussing because he had been broad when he said what topics he'd be happy to discuss, and he had said Shakespeare as like an overarching umbrella. And of course, we're going to be getting a little more nitty gritty with it because that's just how we go.
Ooh, so nitty.
But I had said, do we think tragedies, histories, comedies? And when we had said tragedies, I had said the big three being Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, and Macbeth. Mm-hmm. And then we were like, what are the big three for comedies? And I very quickly said A Midsummer Night's Dream, Twelfth Night, and then was searching for the third one. Katie chimed in with Much Ado About Nothing, at which point Jordan said, yes, that's definitely the one.
Big one.
And I very nonchalantly was like, do you think maybe it's Merry Wives of Windsor? At which point,
Katie and I soundly berated him for a good 15 minutes.
It'd be like, all right, let's do the big Shakespeare tragedies. Richard III, Coriolanus,
and Timon of Athens.
Troilus and Cressida.
I'm pretty sure.
We're fucking nerds.
Oh, we are nerds. We're making fun of you.
Just to be fair, I'm pretty sure Richard III falls into a histories camp.
Oh, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck
Although
out of here.
I will say, maybe the most Slytherin of all Shakespeare's plays.
It is absolutely the most Slytherin.
Yeah, maybe.
We don't have to go into it because it's history plays.
Right. Although, have you guys seen the Ian McKellen version of Richard III, the movie?
I bet it's awesome.
It's pretty great. And
is that the one where it's in the round?
What?
Is that the one where it was like a live production they did in the
No,
round?
this is a movie. This is like a feature film that you can watch. it ends with him like falling into flames.
Oh my god.
gosh.
It's
Oh, and I'm thinking of Macbeth anyway. So
And that's from Patrick Stewart, right?
yes.
Yeah. The Richard III is one of those plays that like it is insane how time. If you have not read Richard III in the last year, go back and read it. It's insane.
But just to jump back and to defend myself for like the briefest moment.
I don't think so.
Let's talk about everyone's favorite Shakespeare play, The Merry Wives of Windsor.
Look. For starters, not only am I like a theater kid dummy, but my mother is a theater teacher, so I grew up being surrounded by that. And Merry Wives of Windsor was a play frequently selected in a theater competition that they would do for Shakespeare Festival. And so for whatever reason, it became ingrained in my head. And also, as far as I know, Merry Wives of Windsor is the only spin-off play that exists because Falstaff comes from Henry IV, part
Shakespeare
1.
plays.
Yeah, it's definitely so. John Falstaff was by far one of the most popular characters in Shakespeare's histories for his time.
Yeah, he was he was Prince Hal's buddy.
Yeah, Prince Hal's buddy. He was this big. He's portrayed now as typically by like old and fat and over the hill,
very gregarious.
A rogue basically. And the way it was explained to me was like, think Fonzie. Think Fonzie in Elizabethan times, because he'd come out on stage and people would lose their fucking shit over,
man.
oh my God, it's Falstaff. And he was the most popular character. And so the urban myth about this that I don't really know if it's true or not is that he was such a favorite character that the Queen commissioned Shakespeare to write a play where Falstaff is the main character and he falls in love.
That's amazing.
And so Shakespeare was like, you've seen the plays, right? That would never, like, I can't make
But also
Falstaff
Shakespeare
a
was
lover.
also like, I don't really care about story or plot. Let's do this shit.
So it is a really funny play. I mean, it for those of you listening who don't know the play, I highly recommend trying to see a production of it or even just reading it, because it's a story about Falstaff trying to seduce
women.
two married women.
Yes.
And these two
they
women
find out
and screw with him.
Yeah.
And there's this whole thing where there's mistaken identity and like he has to dress up like a lady at one point. It's great.
I mean, the not dress up that even the cross dressing, those are like just Shakespearean tropes. Like mistaken identity and dressing up in drag those are the comedy tropes of Shakespearean comedies.
And then getting married at the end.
Yeah.
Which one is in Shakespearean comedies? And after we solve this, we'll dive into the actual sorting with Rosalind, and they're in the woods.
That's As You Like It.
As You Like It. Okay, where they're
another
cross-dressing and posting things
play.
on.
There's that beautiful scene. I'm sorry, I'm such a nerd about this. There's that beautiful scene where Rosalind is in love with Orlando, and Orlando's in love with Rosalind, and so they meet each other in the woods, but Rosalind is dressed up like a boy so she doesn't get murdered and raped. And so,
as you do.
Yeah, as you do in Shakespearean comedies. And so Orlando sees Rosalind thinking he's a boy and asks Rosalind to teach him how to be a lover. And so Rosalind is like, great, I will teach you how to love Rosalind. And so basically there are these awesome, like crazy meta scenes where like she goes, if I was a girl, which I'm not,
right?
And if I was Rosalind, which I'm not, I would like you to do stuff like this, like talk like this to me. And it's so beautiful because then they meet these like country people who are in love, and they're like, talk about what love is. And I love it. I could talk about this all day.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll likely have, I mean, there are a lot of Shakespeare plays. So we're only dealing with the big three of the dramas.
Henry VI, part 1, 2, and 3.
So of the three that we presently have, is there any one that is immediately jumping out to you as being house specific?
Oh, well, let's see.
Out of Romeo and Juliet.
Hamlet, and Macbeth.
Okay, well, I think that Hamlet's totally Ravenclaw.
Really?
Totally.
Oh, in that it is full of people who are overthinking every interaction that they have. And like there's and more than Macbeth, there is a lot more, I feel, in my opinion, ambiguity as to whether Hamlet is experiencing. Oh wait, I don't know. It's got the supernatural element to it, and I always feel like Ravenclaws.
See, I feel that Hamlet is a Slytherin.
Really?
Yes, because I feel unlike. It's like you could argue that Macbeth is also a Slytherin for some of the reasons that I'm going to provide, but one of Slytherin's primary attributes is cunning. And I feel so much of Hamlet, more so than Macbeth, is Hamlet and his uncle like dancing around, reaching the precipice of them just confronting one another.
Right.
So it's, Hamlet being like, I'm going to put up a play that is more or less presenting to you how you killed my dad.
Yeah.
And I'm going to wait to get a rise out of you. And when I do, then I will know unequivocally that you are the bastard who killed my dad. Like, and then
also
and
like there's the aspect of like there are no characters who are completely like sympathetic, because Hamlet uses people who are completely innocent bystanders. Like, Ophelia, girl.
Well, arguably the only truly innocent people in this play are the players themselves, are like the player troupe.
Yeah.
That comes in, because they're literally, they just show up and they're like, hey, we heard you're feeling down, Hamlet, because your dad died and your mom married your uncle. So don't worry, we'll do whatever we'll do whatever play you want.
I think the players Gertrude and Ophelia are.
Ooh, you think Gertrude is blameless?
I think she's relatively blameless.
Ooh, I don't know about that. I feel
Is there anything to suggest within the play that she was aware of conspiracy towards the murder of her husband?
No, but also I think there's something to what you say, because historically this was a custom among royalty,
right?
Of when one passes. So if your
they
brother
don't want the crown to be in jeopardy, so they very promptly were like, all right,
marry the brother. And so I think by our modern standards, that's kind of like, oh, whoa, like that's kind of messed up.
But like, don't they also like, they're pretty gross about flaunting their sexual, like they are sexually attracted to each other. And so part of me suspects there might have been some complicity in in his death, because right afterwards, and Hamlet is like, is my fucking father's body even cold yet? And you guys are like bragging and kissing each other in front of each other. So that makes me suspect, and we'll never know for sure, because she definitely is like what's it called when you change. She code switches all the time.
Oh yeah.
When depending on who she's speaking to, like
depending on who's in the room.
Yeah, like when she doesn't know the other, like that part where wasn't there a scene where like somebody's like hiding behind,
he's behind the curtain.
Yeah.
It's Ophelia's father, whose
Polonius.
name escapes me.
Polonius.
Yes. And yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like she definitely conducts herself.
Yeah.
She in general, I mean, Shakespeare writes very fun, complex characters like across the board. But she's
definitely. And it was groundbreaking for the time, especially to give women complex thought.
And then, I mean, I just feel like, and this is slightly in the bent of, but also leaning a little bit towards the character, which I recognize that we're not supposed to really do on the show. But Hamlet above all else is a very prideful individual, another attribute which you would very heavily cast in Slytherin light. And that pride and the fact that he chooses to kind of go it alone, like when Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are brought to him and they're like, hey, buddy, like obviously they're in cahoots with.
Obviously they're plants though. Like that's
they're
the thing.
obviously plants, but they are longtime friends to sort of coax him out to tell them like what's wrong. And he's like, I'm going to keep this a secret.
Well,
And then I'm going to have you guys, you know.
I see what you're saying, but I feel like whereas I guess it's all up to interpretation, like with most of Shakespeare stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that it's not that he doesn't trust them or that he's prideful and like I'm doing it by myself. I honestly think it's because he's literally the smartest person in that play.
In the play, he's the smartest, but he's also the person who the audience is never going to be given 100% clarity on how much he's losing his mind or not. How much of it is an act and how much of it is him actually losing his fucking mind. Because there are strong indicators in both directions.
I think overall he is very driven. I think there's no doubt about that. I think he is letting his emotions take hold of some of the logic that he has, which makes me drive away from Ravenclaw. Just because some of the decisions that he makes are very irrational, but at the same time, so much of these tragedies are obviously like flights of passion. Like the same can be said for like Othello or
Merry Wives of Windsor.
Yeah, Merry Wives. What was the Katie? You were in that production of, I'm blanking on the name of it. Bloody, very bloody.
Titus Andronicus.
Titus Andronicus. Yes, like those are all. I mean, all of the tragedies end with the titular character being murdered and lots of other bodies along the way.
So here's my thing.
Okay. Is this still in defense of Ravenclaw?
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
And I guess more it's just saying that Hamlet's motivation isn't so much it's more logical. It's more logical because even though, like you say, it's very cunning, he's doing a lot of things that are very cunning, like with the play and all this. They're not just cunning moves. Specifically, he says they're tests.
You feel that they're weights and measures.
They're weights and measures because the ghost shows up to him, right? And he doesn't believe the ghost. He doesn't believe the ghost at the beginning. He believes that he saw something, but he's like, "What? It could have been a demon. I could be going mad." It's not necessarily my father telling me the truth. So I got to figure this shit out. And I can't let anyone know what I'm going to do. And I can't let anyone know how I'm going to do it. So
it is like, in a way, it's almost like a detective story where you have one of those kinds that there's no big surprise at the end. You just know everything and you're trying to see if the detective can get everything in time.
So he's taking the scientific method approach.
He honestly is, because he never confronts. That's the one incredible thing about this play, is that he never confronts the murderer of his father. And that's what the whole play is, like, structurally should be kind of leading to. He confronts his mother. He kills Polonius. He confronts Laertes.
Yep.
He never, ever, ever straight up accuses.
Doesn't he stab
Claudius
his
to
uncle?
his face?
Doesn't he stab Claudius though? At the very end.
At the very end. No, he doesn't. He makes Claudius drink.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Claudius
he makes Claudius drink the poison
that
Claudius was going to offer Hamlet.
But Gertrude drank
and then
instead.
Gertrude drinks it, and then
Which
she
is straight
died.
up like a Sherlock move.
And
I
then
don't believe that I am thirsty, but you go right ahead.
Yeah.
yeah, that last scene is utterly bonkers. It's Laertes is a poison-tipped blade.
Laertes is a poison-tipped blade. So and so
does Hamlet?
No, Hamlet just kills him.
Hamlet, no. What happens is they switch swords.
That's right.
And then Laertes gets struck, which is like, just, I mean, it's it really is like a perfect, crazy, like let the bodies hit the floor.
Yeah.
And
because within 5 minutes time, Horatio is the only person left standing. And then depending on which production you see and which version you read, you have an incoming conqueror.
right. Who just shows up as
yeah.
is so frequently sort of the way it goes. Just the new guy is like, I guess I'm going to take the crown now.
Oh, no, there's always that looming military threat
Yeah.
on the threshold of a lot of Shakespeare's tragedies.
It's always, it really does round out the world.
Yeah.
Because you know, things exist like beyond just the small personal tale that we're seeing.
And it's a fun way to call out the ruling class of being like, oh, yeah, you need to be aware that your personal dramas are not as large as the world around you.
Absolutely. Because it's brought up a bunch.
Oh, yeah.
Is brought up so much, just kind of like as a thing at the beginning of scenes or the thing at the middle of the end. And Claudius and Hamlet could have done something.
Right.
Like they could have stopped it, but they were too busy
Being obsessed with each
being
other.
obsessed with each other. Yeah.
It's Fortinbras.
Fortinbras, thank you.
Yeah,
God, that was killing me.
I know.
And I was like, because that's the thing about talking about Shakespeare.
Right.
Is that
There are a lot of names.
If you're going to go in and you're going to start talking about Shakespeare, you better not fuck up a name. Like, you better not
those
be a
nerds
dummy
will
about
drag
Shakespeare.
you.
Yeah. Because because then all of a sudden you call Fortinbras Donalbain, and now you're like, well, I've lost all my credibility.
Nope.
Right.
Yeah.
Say goodbye to ever perform with RSC.
God damn. One day, David Tennant, one day you and I will play brothers.
In what production?
Merry Wives of Windsor. Or
By popular demand.
yeah. Or it'd be really fun. Oh, I would love to do Comedy of Errors. That would be so much fun.
Oh,
To do with
That
David
one
Tennant.
is like a little bit outside of my knowledge base, and
It's you just gotta, like, honestly, I got a great Christmas present. I'm gonna shout out to the Nivens up in Lake Tahoe. If you ever hear this, they gave me the best Christmas present I think I've ever gotten, which is Oregon Shakespeare Festival has these little passports.
Ashland.
Ashland, yeah,
Yeah.
and they do the canon in a decade.
Oh, whoa.
And so they made these awesome little passports that and each page is a different play. And so you can like get a stamp or just time date, like when you saw the play. So you can prove like within a decade, I saw like all of the plays, and it doesn't
Right.
necessarily have to be at OSF.
Right.
It can be wherever. So I've just been going through like, oh, and I was in this one, and I saw this one, and it's so much. I'm weird tangent, but I just had so much fun with that. So thank you for my awesome present. The thank you card should be in the mail soon, Nivens. All right.
And we just unintentionally did a promotion for the Ashland.
Oh yeah, OSF sponsor this podcast. What can I say?
For the specific Shakespeare themed episodes that we do, or
Go
just
to
like
OSF.com and put in the keyword sorting hat.
to
Yeah,
get
no
20%
vowels.
off your ticket purchases. And
It's SRT HT.
And if they don't want to give you the coupon, just tell Michael Barryte sent you.
yeah, they all know who I am.
Yeah.
My mom goes every year.
Oh gosh, I wish I could go every year. It's expensive though.
I know. I've never been
Not
myself.
with your coupon code.
Now with your coupon
sorting
code, if you
hat.
get a coupon code, you buy one ticket, you get one free. Seriously, guys, you cannot go wrong. Sorting Hat. And now back to the podcast.
All right. Welcome back. When we last left us, we were on a fucked up tangent.
Yeah, I think Stidham convinced me. I think it's the most fucked up Ravenclaw sort of story, like a potentially mad man trying to use logic when faced with a supernatural
Yeah.
confidant, and just an assault on his entire life.
Not to belabor the point or argue completely against, but there is a fair amount of disregard that Hamlet holds towards everybody else within his like revenge plot
Yeah.
that might give me the slightest bit of cause to believe that he is a Gryffindor, because while Gryffindors are bold, they are also brash.
Right.
And they leave oftentimes a trail of some destruction, and Hamlet certainly does leave that.
Well, that makes honestly, yeah. I think that's a really good point. I think then what you have to, since we're talking about the play itself,
Right.
then I think we have to take into account. I think the argument then is the play defined by how it ends or how it goes about doing it?
I think it's not necessarily an either or. I think that, well, we haven't taken into account a lot of the other characters within the play. Like, we've discussed that they are more often than not sort of chess pieces to either.
And who plays chess?
Death in the Seventh Seal.
And who would Death be sorted into?
Slytherin?
Really?
Well,
Death is fair and comes to us all.
Yeah.
If
Death is a Ravenclaw for sure, if only because he has those nerdy freaking robes.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, Death, time for a wardrobe upgrade.
I don't know. I feel I
Guys,
actually
what
would
if one of us died today because of this?
I would argue, I mean, this is me just playing like weird devil's advocate, but Death I almost feel could be a Hufflepuff.
Okay, we're getting down a dangerous road here.
No, like I'm purely thinking about like Death is like can admittedly be fairly like cruel in its intentions, but like oftentimes Death is a fairly patient, even keel like concept that like, oh no, you like led a good life and then like I'll take you.
Let me ask you this question. To be or not to be?
That is the question.
Whether 'tis nobler to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or...
Nope, I don't know beyond that point.
All right, well then, Ravenclaw it is.
So it's just going to come down to quote offs.
I love that. That's the most quoted like piece from the play. And a lot of people like don't sit and think, oh, that's just him saying, should I kill myself right now? And not like should we just end the play right here, everybody? Should we just
Act 3, we good to finish it off?
it's gonna go bad.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. So should we just not do any of this?
Yeah.
Well, it's not even, to my understanding, to be or not to be is not simply the question of like to exist or not.
No, it's like, is it worth going through all the suffering that life is throwing me?
Yeah, is it worth doing the things that I am considering and potentially damning my name?
And because of that, and he has a bunch of soliloquies that are that cerebral.
Right.
And because of those are the questions that get posed by the play, is why I am firm in Ravenclaw.
Yeah, because I don't think you know what? I don't think a Slytherin would ever consider, like, they would never consider that an option.
I think, however, that a Gryffindor would consider the morality of their decisions. Harry or Hermione or Ron are constantly going like, we need to take care of this, but also like,
I think, okay, so I think, I know we're not supposed to do this. I think the character Hamlet, just so we're clear, I think he is a total Gryffindor.
right.
But I think
I am getting a little caught up
Hamlet,
in the minutia.
Yeah.
Hamlet, Prince of Denmark, I believe that as a play would be sorted into Ravenclaw.
You make valid points. You
yeah,
make very valid
a
points.
bunch of
give me a point.
a bunch
I'm
of
on the board.
pieces fall into place.
This is not a competition.
Every podcast is a competition,
we
and
did
I'm
it.
winning. That's
We,
spoken like a loser, Barryte.
We analyzed maybe what is considered the most complex piece of literature in human history.
I feel like we were the most qualified to do it, though.
Oh, me, definitely.
Shifting gears. Do we want to go to Romeo and Juliet or do we want to go to Macbeth?
Macbeth.
Let's do Macbeth.
Macbeth.
Ooh.
This is the one that I was saying, like, for real, we don't know if they're just losing their minds the entire time,
Yeah.
or not. Because with Hamlet, other people witness the ghost, but in Macbeth, every time something supernatural happens, it's only when one person is around.
Not true.
Oh, wait.
Because Banquo sees the witches as well with Macbeth at the very start.
Oh, really?
They say they're wandering across the battlefield. They run into the witches and they're like, Macbeth, Thane of Cawdor you will be, or whatever it is. Then they say, Banquo, your son's going to do great.
Your son will be king.
That's right.
And that's what prompts, that's what prompts Macbeth to fear Banquo.
Yep.
Because he's worried, like, logistically,
And is anybody around the other times that he sees the witches?
No.
Or
every other time he seeks them out privately.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the initial catalyst, Banquo is present, so we don't.
That's
we
correct. I retract my statement.
And isn't
although, I mean, to talk about like losing your mind legitimately, like I think Lady Macbeth is totally the person that like you can track that happening.
Oh, for real.
Because she has no interaction with anything superstitious supernatural.
Right. Yeah.
On I guess we're talking about it, and I haven't full disclosure. I've been at theater school for a couple of years now, and like you don't say that in like around theater people. You don't say Macbeth around theater people, because I have seen it like fuck up shows, like straight up, like people get hurt. And it's kind of crazy.
I don't know if I feel like, and I went to theater school too. I feel like if somebody gets flustered because they're scared of the fact that they just heard Macbeth and an accident happens.
That's not what I'm talking about. I mean like my friend says it next to me in the dressing room, and then we hear on the monitor something go wrong on stage.
So you believe in the Macbeth superstition?
So
don't
you
say
call it the Scottish play,
or I call it Macbeezy. But truthfully, I think that bad things happen, and I think that when they happen, we look for patterns. But that's why it's going to be. I'm just trying to explain any kind of hesitation I'll have in saying
that. It's just like physically
words.
uncomfortable to say Macbeth.
I'm just like, it's honestly like saying Voldemort.
I implore you then.
Oh my God,
it's worth noting. Yeah, Jordan very quickly started looking around the room.
Like eyes flittering. Oh God.
Then I implore you to come up with every variant on Macbeth whenever you happen to say the name.
Oh, that'd be fun. Okay, great.
Okay. I'm gonna level with you. I don't think there's anything that gets me as head up as theater superstitions.
Really?
Okay, the one that makes me the angriest is the one about whistling.
Oh yeah, that's so stupid.
And I will explain to you, dear listener, why the superstition is some bunk, number one. And number two...
Well, first you need to start with just the baseline. What is the superstition?
Okay, so it is believed to be bad luck and that terrible misfortune will befall you if somebody whistles while they are on the boards, while they are in a theater, especially if they're on stage. Now, the reason why this superstition exists at all actually is deep within the history of theater. You have to go back to a time when we didn't have as sophisticated way of flying things on the ropes. And that's when you do things like pull up screens or the curtain or even move lighting. And at that time, the only people who had enough experience to do this deftly and sophisticatedly were sailors. So back in the day, when they wanted to fly in something like a curtain or anything like that, sailors would use their whistling technique that they had learned on the ships to communicate what the cue was. And the reason why you didn't do, why you would not whistle is because you might have accidentally given somebody a cue and you could get somebody murdered with a sandbag or a curtain in the wrong way. It has nothing to do with anything hocusy pocusy, and I would suspect that almost every superstition of the theater is born of something like that, something concrete that we can understand and has only been forgotten through the time.
There's a pragmatic basis for why initially you were discouraged from whistling, and now people are like, it calls the devil to the stage.
Yeah, it calls the spirits. That's
why we have a ghost light, to keep the ghosts away, right?
People just don't. I feel like like in a lot of ways, because theater, I feel like we're talking about theater people now. Theater people have to be kind of so open to just like whatever's happening right now.
Yeah.
And, like you have to be so open to
It's
all
like
that.
vulnerability is
Yeah.
something that they have to like
It's
learn.
cultivated.
Yeah.
You have to, it's honest, especially in today's society. Like, I mean, my whole first year of training was literally just kind of prying open yourself so that you can see that like vulnerability is a very fertile place to work from.
Yeah.
But what happens then is at some point someone goes, it's bad luck to whistle in the theater. And you go, okay, I won't whistle in the theater.
Yeah.
That is
And it's
bad
just
luck.
that, it's just like,
Yeah.
don't just accept things as truth.
Yeah.
Say Macbeth in a theater. It feels good.
You have power.
And when the ceiling rains down upon you, know that those two things are in no way related.
Connected. It's just an earthquake.
All right, that was a big tangent. I'm sorry. All right, Macbeth.
Hey, it's totally fine. People might have learned
Yeah.
something in that tangent.
I hope so.
Now you know the origin of that.
Yeah. The more you know.
So with Macbeth, I do feel that this one is a Slytherin. Are we like pretty fair?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
Any other argument would be bonkers.
Because I mean, the only argument I could think of is negated as soon as that scene happens where he comes home and meets with his wife.
Right.
Because he starts plotting fucking as soon as he meets up with Lady Macbeth. I think again, Mackers Mackers himself is a hero. He is a fucking war hero.
Right.
You know, like fighting against I want to say McDonald and like the whole first scene is the bloody sergeant with this 1.5-page monologue just saying, and then brave Macbeth strewn over the balcony and talks about like how he cut a dude in twain.
And it's definitely like to set up like this should not be expected by any of the characters what is about to transpire.
Yeah.
I mean, the thematic like element that is like the largest thing is just be wary of ambition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And ambition
is an attribute directly in line with Slytherin.
Yeah.
As far as, and then like you also spin that just into the fact that they are going, everything that they're doing is very sinister and with malicious intent. The fact that Duncan shows up and they're like, all right, so we kill the king.
Right.
Like that, like once we're Thane, then we kill the king, then we're going to be fine because the forest is never going to move.
Right.
And no man of a woman bore
what man is not of woman born?
Yeah. So we're totally fine. Our legacy is like secured. And oh, by the way, like just in case we should kill Banquo and his kid. Like, sorry, Fleance, you're gonna fly, Fleance, fly.
Yeah.
And like there's and like it really hits home not even just the idea of ambition, but there is no relationship. There's not a single relationship you will ever have in your life that is not more important than getting the power that you deserve.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because Macbeth doesn't just destroy his relationships with countries, just within his own kingdom, but even the things that he thought would be safe, his own relationship to his wife ends up gutted on the floor at the end.
Oh yeah. Well, thrown from a balcony.
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
So this is like through and through, because there are Slytherins who start out with great intentions and who do good things, but it's all about like, I feel like Slytherins, they're going to get the job done no matter what.
Yeah, I think the easiest way actually in just looking at this, having done one prior to this and now being on Macbeth, which is a little bit more cut and dry, I feel, is looking to the theme of the piece. And then you can go, okay, how does that theme really fall into the house? Because then you can
what is the major conflict at hand?
Yeah. And so I think we're all decidedly so on Slytherin.
Oh yeah.
Also, just as a slight sidebar, when I was in 10th grade, I had a literature project that I had to do that my roommate and I decided to do as a stop motion Lego retelling of
really?
Macbeth.
Is it here? Do you have it on your computer here?
It might exist online somewhere. It's called Macdeath because of course it is. And it's like really clicky stop motion animation. And it's just the two of us, Alex and I, doing all the voices very badly.
Oh my God.
Like in real segmented like sequences. I think we had to do one scene from each act, but we went a little bit further than that. And we were going to be doing Romeo and Juliet after we graduated from college, or when we were still in college, and that was going to be aptly named Romeo and Juliet. And there is like a 70-page script that we wrote.
That's amazing. 70 pages?
Yeah. A 70-page script, and we were working to do this whole thing stop motion animation. There is a trailer that exists, and only because when The Social Network was shooting at UCLA, and I happened to have my hard drive and my computer, and they were stolen, and they had all the footage that we were working on. There's like one a high 8 tape that I recently found that might have some of that footage, but like the thing that kills me is when we were doing the apothecary in Mantua in Romeo and Juliet, we decided, just for the sake of being weird, that Mantua would be entirely made of clay. And
so when Romeo flees
to Mantua, like when you go to him, there's just like constantly moving clay ground.
Oh my gosh.
And when he goes to the apothecary is like a large monster that rises out of the ground and has tentacles. I can show, like, we built an armature, and we figured out like the mouth movements for the few lines that the apothecary had to have, and had like it bring its tendril in to like hand him a drink, and all of that footage was on the computer that's lost. But like the skeletal structure, if you ever come over to my parents' place, like in the garage
all the time
still, or no, it's now in my room, but like we stripped all the clay off of it, but there's like a large ass armature. I mean, large ass armature being
like,
like,
get as much of that stuff as you can linked up in the episode details.
I can definitely kick the trailer out, which has like a handful of shots from the dance and things like that. But like we were getting pretty ambitious with the camera work. Like there were some rack focuses and like and just like camera pans and things like that with party scene. Like the party scene was a nightmare. Maybe I can find the script and just upload the script.
Yeah, so upload the script and then put a link to if you can find the link to the trailer or any of that stuff, put in the description here.
Yeah. And
then also put your link to the Seed and Spark for this project.
What?
The Seed and Spark.
The Seed and Spark.
It's like
you're gonna make this now.
Oh,
yeah.
We're way too into it.
Yeah.
Oh, I've just never. That's another crowdfunding website.
But it's really great.
Okay,
yeah.
I'll have to look into that.
Seed and Spark. Today's episode of The Sorting Hat brought to you by.
Put in the promotional code. Give us money.
That's the promotional code. Give us money.
Yeah, give us money.
Again,
GV
no
US,
vowels.
GVSSMNY.
Oh, sometimes use the Y though.
Only sometimes. It differs on which hour.
Right. So into Romeo and Juliet, I somehow transitioned us there.
Yeah, no, great.
We've
Perfect.
decidedly it's a Slytherin. I think, and this is arguably, it's debatable. It's definitely debatable.
Oh, I definitely had us go to Macbeth second because I knew it would be less complicated.
That'd be so quick, yeah.
Do you think that Romeo and Juliet is a Hufflepuff?
I do.
Okay, I feel
Romeo
great about
and Juliet
this.
is one of the most puff pieces of all time.
Okay, give us your pitch.
I loved you, Jordan. He took a pause. And then he just like righted himself in his chair and turned.
Because this shit is real, okay? Because also I'm genuinely interested because this is my thing. I'm very very passionate about Shakespeare stuff.
Yeah.
And I'd say I'm fairly knowledgeable on it, but I'm not really knowledgeable on all like the intricacies of the houses for Hogwarts, and like what are all the different like levels.
Sure.
So I'm interested because I'm having trouble placing this. But if I were to place it anywhere, just with my kind of very surfacey knowledge of, because I read the books, I saw the movies, so it's very surfacey knowledge.
Yeah, no, you actually know more about the series than I do then.
Oh, yeah.
She knows a lot about the houses, doesn't know a lot about the plot.
Oh, okay. Well, then my plot knowledge helps me very little.
Where are you placing it?
I'm leaning to place it in Gryffindor.
I saw your logic just based on what you were like
leaning towards,
in. Which
I'm leaning towards Gryffindor. I'm not 100% certain.
Which I concede was my first thought, but then when thinking on it a little bit further, I do believe the Hufflepuff elements to it, which stress, and you can back me up on this, Katie, being family. There's a loyalty aspect. And then there's also just the sense of, I mean, I feel love tends to emanate most from the Hufflepuff house.
I guess sort of love that's not like tampered by ambition or distraction. It's just like a very like, I feel like out of all of the houses that would ever like do a peaceful protest, it would be the Hufflepuff.
Right. Like love would fall into different categories for each of the houses. I feel that love of family would more closely tie into either Slytherin or Gryffindor.
And feeling a conflict of identity based on like wanting to stay true to your family, but not necessarily agreeing with them, that would tear a Hufflepuff apart.
And like love of knowledge or like love of facts is like a very Ravenclaw.
Right.
Like you love to know that the structure of your world is sound.
Although I will say, and this is just some trivia, I'm going to posit that Juliet is a Ravenclaw.
Yeah, no, I see that.
Absolutely.
She is maybe one, and especially for the time, I will go back to say, she is presented as being smarter than Romeo.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Romeo, I don't know where I would place Romeo in this. I would place him in like the dumb shit house because like I mean, but honestly, he's 15, she's 14.
But she speaks with the eloquence of a woman who has lived for a while.
Yeah.
Well, and Romeo just right out of the gate is like, "Oh, I'm mopey because like my poor girlfriend broke up with me."
And
then
overall, like I'm gonna in April I'm gonna be playing Romeo here in Los Angeles. If anybody is interested,
that's awesome.
I can give details later. And I am always from the school of acting where you get on the level of that character. And you justify all of their wants as being something that is something they deserve and is something that you understand. And I'm struggling with Romeo so hard because he's such a fucking idiot.
Oh well, yeah, that's it. Yeah, you gotta empathize with your character. When, like even if you were to play, Richard III, like we talked about, who straight up, like the first line of the play is him looking to the audience and saying, I'm going to fuck some shit up.
Yeah.
This is my family, and I hate them, and I'm going to fuck some shit up. And
I'm about to blow this whole thing sky high.
And you have to be able to sympathize with him from that.
So when you first meet Romeo, he comes in and
he's like,
just goes,
"Oh, Rosalind left me."
Yeah. He's like, he is like at the level where he's like, I don't even know what time it is.
Yeah, he's listening to My Chemical Romance on loop, and like Benvolio's like, "Hey, dude, want to come out of your sad like sob house and maybe like think about how great the world is?" And Mercutio's like, "Yeah, the world's great, and your dreams are fucking bullshit, you stupid moron." Like, Mercutio and Benvolio have like arguably the best dynamic of best friends, just because like Benvolio is very sympathetic to Romeo's plight, but like trying to like gently coax him out, and Mercutio consistently is like the just crass, goofy friend who's like, "Fuck your feelings, like let's go out and slay some puss." Like that, like he's that crass dude.
Because you're absolutely, he is the Barney Stinson of this group. But what Mercutio has is time on his side.
Yeah.
He
thinks he does.
Well, no, I mean, in years he is older than Romeo.
Yeah.
And so he sees it for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Lord Montague sees it for what it is, which is like he's heartbroken. He's gonna fucking get over it. It's just a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think to his credit that is the I think his arc in the play, one of his big arcs in the play is he starts out saying like, all I want is her.
Mm-hmm.
All I want is her. I can't eat. I can't sleep. I can't drink.
Right.
I was in love.
Yeah.
And then he sees Juliet.
Right.
And then it's this whole other thing. I find that
He goes from being an inactive, someone who can be so easily tripped up by his own desires and his own love, to someone who says, no, I'm going to actively fight for this love. And I think that even though Romeo's a big old dummy, the smart thing that this play does, and what I think ties it back into the Hufflepuff theme of love, is that this play never invalidates Juliet's or Romeo's love. It finds a way to get you there, make you understand each character's desire and what they're willing to give up. And Juliet's coming from a much more
we see far more of Juliet's side of things, like the whole way through, which does make her a more sympathetic character, which I feel is necessary since she arguably has more to lose, both from a just like historical and just like gender-based like what is expected of her. She is going far beyond the reaches of like what your typical teenage girl is going to do.
So much dignity. It's you can really see it in the moments when characters think they're alone. That's when you really find out in plays like who they are.
Well, and just going off to echo your point of her being a Ravenclaw, her monologue with the vial, with a potion that Friar Lawrence gives her that will make her sleep, and her hallucination of Tybalt and the consequences there and the fear of hell and damnation. But like, she
weighs the options.
She's really like looking between all the options there and chooses that like love is the greater thing for her in that moment. And also just like, sorry, I love this play.
Yeah, me too.
I love this play, and the fact that like my roommate and I spent so many goddamn years, like we spent so like there's so much in these pages, guys. Like if you have not read Romeo and Juliet and like thoroughly realized like their first encounter is like so fucking layered with weird like flirtatious just entendres on entendres. Like it is, it's good. But
so going back to what I was saying, the balcony scene is maybe
guys, Michael is drooling all over his microphone right now. It is not a pretty sight.
The balcony scene, when they each have experienced this moment to talk kind of out to the world, to the audience, and the way each of these opens is so beautiful because Juliet goes, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? It's it's so philosophical. It's so deep just off the bat. And then Romeo's is, but soft, what light through yonder window breaks it is the east and Juliet is the sun, which is a very, very poetic way of saying, damn, that girl's hot.
Yeah.
Damn. Oh shit, son.
which I think is an important juxtaposition to Mercutio, who is literally like, I'm gonna slay some puss. And that's in pentameter.
And I feel like Romeo kind of encompasses both Benvolio and Mercutio. Like he's both of them. He's like the more even. Like
we've got the angels, the angel and the devil sort of thing.
Well, also, I mean, if we want to get really kind of crass about it, crasser than slay some puss. The first half up until Tybalt kills Mercutio.
Right.
This play is a romantic comedy.
This
play is structurally
At the very start, the very first scene is, do you bite your thumb at me, sir? I do not bite my thumb at you, sir, but I do bite my thumb. Like,
Yeah.
but that whole
But who dies in that scene?
Nobody dies,
Yeah.
but it sets up that these streets of Verona are like not calm.
Yeah.
But but what I mean is that's the background to it. The background to this, like the background to any romantic comedy can be anything. But what are your structural elements?
But what, like,
What? No. What are your structural goddamn elements, Michael Barryte?
Okay,
You have a male lead who is, oh no, I'm a great guy. I'm like, he's always super handsome,
right?
But like, he has this one burden that he's carrying around with him because the girl he just got dumped.
Yeah.
And then she is this princess in a tower, and their families don't like each other. He has two friends, one who's really logical, one who's like, let's slay some puss.
Yeah.
Structurally, he encompasses both of them.
Yeah.
And then they meet each other at a party.
I mean, yeah.
And flirt and hook up at that party. And then they're like, and then everyone else is saying, what are you doing, man? He goes, but it's love.
Yeah, and like it's honestly, I think that's why it's still such a devastating play, even as entrenched in popular culture as it is. Like, it's still, like, you still are, like, till the very last moment, you're hoping that Romeo figures out what the fuck's going on.
Well, and it's also great in the fact that, I mean, you set up that first scene of, like, there is a rivalry here. Mm-hmm. And obviously that is a thing, like, the house feud is in the background and forefront of every single scene.
Yeah.
But they manage to make you forget for the briefest of moments, like, you know, pick your movie that has the similar, like, class divide or she's a human and he's a vampire, like, whatever, and, like, it can never work element, and it manages to enwrap you.
Right.
In the belief that it can happen. But yes, the minute that Tybalt slays Mercutio and then Romeo kills Tybalt, you're like, oh, this thing that was already, like, probably not going to work has just been heightened to a point where things are fucked.
Was it Mercutio or Benvolio who also invokes the supernatural element of Romeo and Juliet when he says, I call a plight on both your houses, and then that's
Mercutio as he dies.
That is one of my favorite moments, because up until now it's been a very just like human play, like human experiences, and then because he calls that curse on their houses, it makes it so that Romeo's not able to get the news later.
Yeah,
because an actual plague. No, the guy who was supposed to take him the message literally says, "I can't get out because the environment's so bad right now." Mm-hmm. And that's the reason why Romeo doesn't get the news about Juliet's plan. So, like, it literally becomes the entire universe working against them. And that's when I believe I agree with you, that's when it makes the shift to a tragedy. When the gods decide, we're now going to steer this towards its natural end. And not human errors.
Yeah. I think that's
but
where
there is a lot of human error throughout all of this.
But I think the point is, though, that, like, human error is what we perceive the gods just kind of like moving, like a butterfly flapping its wings in the distance. It's like,
I mean, I'm also of the mindset in general that Friar Lawrence is, like, the biggest fuck up of, like, this whole thing. Like,
he comes up with the plan.
Yes. Yeah. He comes up with a far too convoluted plan than just, like, say some Hail Marys and, like, you know, go talk to your folks.
He's the only adult who knows what's going on.
And
he makes worse decisions than Romeo or Juliet.
He decides that the best option is to fake your death and then hold a funeral.
Yep.
And then have Romeo come back for you in the night and run away and everything will be fine. Like, in theory...
Come dig you out of your tomb. What kind of adult is giving advice to teenagers like this?
Well, okay. This is, again, it's so interesting because even when I say things like, it's a rom-com, that is just based on what I see in my head when I read it. Of course, you have to. We keep saying, read the plays. It's great. Read the plays. Don't read the plays. Go find the plays.
Read the plays.
Watch the plays.
Well, yeah.
Go watch professional productions of these plays.
And then read the plays.
It's so much easier to understand when you see human beings like connecting with each other instead of just like words on a page that are practically a different language from what you speak.
It's definitely a situation where the first 5 minutes of any Shakespeare play is you just sort of clicking into the language.
Yeah.
But the emotion will carry you through. There was a film movement, and I forget the name of the movement, but they would conduct performances in gibberish. Purely to show that like emotion can convey everything that you need. And if anybody knows what the name of that film movement was,
it's that time again. Slide into Michael Barryte's DM and use the promo code. Let's go on a date for 20% off a very, very fun dinner.
No vowels.
Let's go on a date. No consonants.
But yeah, they're
He's blushing.
No, I've mentally been completely derailed. I forgot what we were
going to say. You were talking about the gibberish place. If somebody knows the title of it, you don't have to date Michael Barryte.
But anyway, so going back more to the sorting at hand, we're looking at either Hufflepuff or Gryffindor right now. That seems to be the...
After having spent quite a good deal of time unpacking it, I believe very, very firmly that it's a Hufflepuff now.
Oh, great! Then we didn't have much of a conflict there.
Great.
Oh, just frankly, just because I believe that this would be this is a story that would come from Hufflepuff.
Well, and it's a story that ultimately drives to unity, which Hufflepuffs are always trying to be the peacemakers as far as they're looking to broker any sort of truce and make sure that everybody is happy. And it is Romeo and Juliet's death and the death of many others leading up to this that makes the families go, oh shit, it took our kids to make us realize that this is petty shit.
Yeah.
And we need to erect a statue in their honor as a symbol to show that this will never happen again. And man, it sucks that Paris died on those steps.
Oh, what Paris, that little fucking
But I mean,
nerd.
really an allegory for war.
Yeah.
Which I think it does get lost in the shuffle a lot. But yeah, it's
but by making it about houses, it minimizes it.
And about the people.
Right.
Like putting that human face on it. Like, because who really suffers in war?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like
It's the children. The children suffer. Because the children are the ones that, whether they grow up in war or whether they go to war, like
right. And
they're the ones that pay the price.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we do not know how long this feud has been going on, correct?
No. And like, do they ever even specify what it was? Because it feels like it was some petty shit.
Well, like, I mean, were it or weren't it, it's a situation where you see some people like Tybalt who are very, let me get my sword, like I'm ready to go. And he doesn't even necessarily know the reason as to why he's fighting.
Yeah, and I feel like it was something petty because every time the royal family ever talks about it, they're like, "Oh, are they fighting again?"
Yeah, the prince always comes out and is like, "Guys, we've been over this. This is stupid. Please stop
this
and
shit."
And then the houses are like, "Did ya hear? The prince is on our side."
Yeah, like, you're right. It is stupid. You're with us, Prince. And they're like, "No, he's with us." Yeah, it's really upsetting because literally everyone, I mean, even the friar, I believe that the friar's motivations in his shitty advice to Juliet are...
He says that
if I can get you married, we can stop this.
Yeah. Like his intentions are very noble, but like, God, he is...
Just the wrong way to do it, dude.
Yeah.
So, and I know you are always a little bit hesitant to sort actual living human beings, but I think it'd be fun. Where do you guys see Shakespeare personally?
Oh, great
'Cause
question.
I feel like it's more
there's
complicated.
a larger question
Yeah,
there because is Shakespeare
Cut his
really
mic. Cut his mic.
Did Shakespeare
Everyone just cut
already
his
write
mic
all
right
these
now.
plays?
Was she
Cut it.
real?
Or was it really was it Marlowe was
Marlowe, yeah.
Marlowe, they actually Henry VI Part 1, 2, and 3
or co-written or something like
it's
that?
one of the big Shakespeare publishers, I want to say.
They just confirmed like handwriting or something like that
They
on
just
a
confirmed it, and
manuscript.
so in the next publishing of their complete works, he's going to be credited as a
co-author.
co-author.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
amazing.
1, 2, and 3.
Like Shakespeare's just interesting in that whole camp of like, is it a sole dude? Is it a collective? Is it
As far as the entity of Shakespeare goes, I would oddly enough, I think I'd either put him in Slytherin or Ravenclaw.
Oh, really?
Really.
I don't know
Because
about that.
because I wouldn't, because the thing about those two houses, I feel, is that they take into account all of it. Into, even though their actions are defined by a few things,
Oh, see,
they're
I feel
taking into account all of the things.
I feel that can be said to most of the houses. I actually feel that, and maybe it is through self-interest, but I do think that more of a Ravenclaw, because I feel that the thematics are so pointed and calculated almost.
Yeah, like he is able to at once feed these thematic elements to people who were in such a place of privilege and also make the people who had no money and no prospects feel wanted too.
Yeah.
For someone to be able to do both those things simultaneously, it's just a feat that like
It's quite the balancing act.
artists are still trying to figure it out today.
Yeah,
right. Like there's the argument that can also be made of Shakespeare being a Hufflepuff based on just like very arts and very like looking to sort of unify, and that unifying the classes at the Globe Theater and everything like that. But I just go back to the structure that is so well honed
Yeah.
to every play.
Yeah.
Even the lessers like Merry Wives of Windsor.
No,
I'm not saying
Merry Wives
lessers.
here's the thing: Merry Wives structure actually pretty solid.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's been adapted for opera like I think at least 3 times.
There's only a couple of Shakespeare clunkers, in my opinion. Titus Andronicus, I'm looking at you.
Whoa, okay, all you
Shots fired.
TNA fans shouldn't. Okay. You know what I mean when I say TNA. I mean Titus Andronicus, not the titties and the asses, but Light in the Sand.
yeah, you eat
fucking
them in that play.
drawn.
Yeah.
Fucking drawn to you, man.
well, okay, so we're thinking Ravenclaw then.
I'm
We're
thinking
settling
Ravenclaw,
on Ravenclaw. With Shakespeare sorted and the big 3 on the tragedies sorted, I think we have reached a solid and stellar conclusion for this episode of The Sorting Hat. I would like to thank our guest, Jordan Stidham. Where can we see more from you?
You can see more from me coming up in a bit here, but right now, as the time of this podcast dropping, you can come and check me out in Thrones, the musical parody down at the Hudson Theater, main stage down in Hollywood, California. We do a parody musical of Game of Thrones. It's really been
sounds
great. Yeah, we
great.
just got extended, so hopefully we'll be running by the time this comes out. So come check it out. Please, 411 or Gold Star.
Are you on the Twitters or any of those places?
I'm on Instagram at Jordan Stidgram, and I'm not really on Twitter.
Okay. You can follow Katie Reed at that Katie Reed on Twitter.
Yep.
You can follow me at Belated Media on Twitter. Is there any other fun bits you want to promote this week, Katie?
I got nothing.
All right. Neither do I. I'll try to remember to put show notey things for Romeo and Juliet. And thank you all so much for joining us on this episode of The Sorting Hat. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Another long one because we were impassioned about this.